Another is a high school thriller mystery manga about some dude leaving his old school after leaving the big city, and he comes across this strange girl who has a fetish for dolls. As Koichi processes through high school, he starts to notice strange things happening, such as everyone dying around him. And that's where he goes on a fun, cute high school adventure with a girl with a serious fetish. What if I can put the same joke twice? Fuck. With some creepy goth girl, a tsundere, and the others. There's not a lot to say about the others, but we'll get into that. Our story here focuses on Koichi, just trying to solve a mystery of why is everyone around me dying? Why do people think this girl right in front of me doesn't exist? Why is my aunt so unbelievably boring? And along the way, it feels as if most of the story is just trying to explain everything. The amount of dialogue here is numbing, to say the least, especially when it comes to the parts where he talks with his auntie. My god, that bitch deserved it. Anyway, the manga isn't all dialogue, and by the end of the story, after you've pretty much got a scholarship in the law of another, everything goes down, and by the end of it, it's actually entertaining to read, because yes, stuff actually does happen. So yes, whilst it is a slow build-up, the ending is thrilling, and after all the build-up, it feels as if something pays off. Plus, the build-up here isn't always boring because, like I said earlier, a lot of characters are killed off just to keep you reading. This can be in in a lot of ridiculous ways, such as a girl. Spoilers, by the way. She falls all the way to her death on an umbrella. Who would have even come up with that? But it is brilliant, and as someone like me, I would say I'm sort of desensitized more or less with spending my childhood listening to creepypastas, and even some of the deaths here just make me tense up just a little. So that's definitely good and part of a manga. And it's not like all of these deaths are that shocking, because sometimes it is kind of obvious when a character is just about to be outward like, but it is how they die that is the gross part to read about. But overall, I would say with the story, it is slow, very slow. But, I guess that is what you should expect from a mystery manga. And plus, it is not like it leaves you completely bored due to all the wonderful death. Moving on to characters in another, they are not that interesting. With the one exception being Mikasa, since that is what this whole manga revolves around anyway. Learning about her backstory is sort of emotional to read from some of the bits. I mean, I still didn't really care for much. I think the only parts I did care for is, but it leaves some of her backstory up to the imagination, which is sort of the hardest, the most emotional bits to think about, because you have to think about how she dealt with being raised. But most of the characters who die in another don't really have that much of an emotional impact. I mean, it is cool to read about their deaths, but seriously, I feel more when running over civilians in GTA. In this manga's characters who die, I just could not care less about them. And at the end of a manga, spoilers, we are supposed to care about Koichi's aunt who he kills. But did I care? Well, I'm not a complete sociopath. I cared a little bit because I had to read for all that fucking boring dialogue. But his aunt was just vanilla ice cream. That's how boring she was. She is just the most generic aunt who is there to give countless exposition that I could not care about. They didn't even make the character appealing to look at. Sort of a minor nitpick there, but she is just plain. Well, I guess that is every character here. Like, every character is plain, with the exception of Mikasa. But you would think that a character that is supposed to have such a tragic end would have just a teensy ounce of just something interesting to a character being an aunt. But no, she's just there to give exposition. But yeah, so that is my main thoughts on the characters. It is like Mikasa is that one piece of sweet corn surrounded by a pile of diarrhea. Actually, I wouldn't even call it diarrhea because it's not even like terrible. It's just boring. So it's grey diarrhea. Compared to the anime, I would actually say the anime is better than the manga. The anime still has its flaws, but I think watching the murders on screen is far more entertaining than seeing it in the manga. Also, I feel the characters get a lot more right with giving their characters more unique traits. However, it still shares flaws with the manga, such as every character just spitting out exhibition. But I will cover the anime in another video, more in depth. But to be honest, I would 100% recommend the anime over the manga. So to wrap this up, another is a mystery manga that I simply do not like. But look, don't hate me if you really like this manga. It's just that I don't know if it's the genre I'm not a fan of or the manga is just boring. I'm kind of willing to bet that the manga is boring because I didn't really like any of the characters that much. I feel like the themes aren't even that interesting. And Mikasa is literally carrying this manga. There is a reason her face is the only thing you will see if someone mentions another, is because it's the every other character is bare. They've got nothing. Anyway, I would overall place another in the D category, because although I didn't find it completely terrible, there is still good elements about it, but overall it's just boring to read.